Hi, I'm here with our Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, Angela Barber-Joiner. She serves in that role as well as a lead teacher in our Montessori. Our campus is closed, but Angela, you're going to be leading us in a book club, an event that we're going to be doing virtually. Can you just give us a little bit of information about that?
Yeah, so we're going to be having a books and conversation, and it will be on Zoom. We're all getting a little bit more comfortable with Zoom video conferencing, and the name of the book is Just Mercy, a great book by well-renowned author Brian Stevenson. And the book is really dives into equity, diversity, and inclusion. It talks about equity and redemption. Justice is the story of justice and redemption, and we will be talking a lot about that book from 6:30 to 7:30 on Zoom. And feel free to RSVP on the link, and we will be meeting there to talk about some themes in the book.
Great. Now, I know a lot of times people, when they're joining a book club, they want to know, should I read the book? Can I listen to it audio? Can I get it on Audible? Are all of those acceptable by you?
Yes, Tony, that would be great. I've actually listened to the book and read the book. So any one of those avenues or any of those ways that you would like to read the book, it will be great because the discussion will be based on the meat of the book.
Yeah, very good. Now, you're going to be using Zoom. Is this a platform that you knew how to use 4 months ago, or is this something that you're getting used to yourself in running a book discussion like this?
Fortunately, for the last few weeks, I've gotten more comfortable with Zoom.
Good.
In the past, I had no idea what Zoom even was. I think we're all learning a little bit more about Zoom and becoming more comfortable with it. So this will be a first for me, as for many, in having these conversations. But the need for the conversation is so great that we're going to use Zoom to have the conversation.
Fantastic. Now, you just explained a little bit about the book a moment ago. How did you choose this one? It's a well-known book, and I think it's been on the New York Times bestseller. But there's so many books out there, Angela, that could be a lens for EDI. Why did you choose this book in particular?
So, Tony, in my role as the Director of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, one of my primary roles is to engage individuals in conversation, whether that be staff, students, families, just helping individuals navigate courageous conversations and how to do that and around topics that are meaningful and necessary in our world. And this particular book engages us in conversation. It gives us the platform that we need to really discuss equity. Equity based on race, socioeconomic status, and even in today, what we're dealing with this pandemic, equity. Prior to this, many of us did not have to think about having access to certain things. We were very comfortable with our day-to-day operations and what we were engaging in. Our needs were met. And now we're getting a little bit of taste of what other individuals experience. And this book allows for that, it gives us the platform to have that conversation on those very challenging topics.
Yeah, very good. That's well put. I know that this book was also a feature film that just came out. Did you have a chance to see the movie? I know it was in the theaters just before many of the theaters closed down with stay-at-home orders.
Yes, Tony. And actually, I had not seen this movie prior to, in the theaters because I did not have the time, but we have time now. So I was able to view this movie a couple of weeks ago. And it's a great film. I am more of a reader than a movie watcher. So for me, I really enjoyed the book and the movie. It was just a little bit of icing on the cake, but it was great. It was great. I also had the opportunity to see Brian Stevenson, who is the author of the book,
Okay.
um, at the Aronoff Center.
Oh,
Spoke there a few months ago, and I was able to hear him live and talk about this book and talk about the why behind the reason why he created this book and why he wrote this book. And it was his whole initiative and the whole reason behind writing this book was to help us engage in these conversations, to bring it to light, to kind of give us the tools to engage in the conversation, the tools to have the conversation, the reason as to why the conversation is so necessary, and to bring to light what role we all can play in having more equitable and inclusive and conversations and meeting the needs of individuals on all levels.
Great. Okay, now without spoiling the plot, can you tell us a little bit about what Just Mercy is about and what people can expect in this story?
So Just Mercy is about a narrative that was created in our country that stems back from centuries ago, a narrative that was created that in turn later has now caused the outcome of innocent individuals to be made guilty. Because of that narrative that has been ingrained through the bloodlines of our country, individuals are still paying the consequence of those narratives. So the gist of the book is to look at the narrative and identify ways in which we can change the narrative. And it shows us what happens when we change the narrative, what it does for those that deserve justice and mercy.
That's great. And correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't read the book, but I have heard the author speak before. So I'm going to read and come and join, if that's all right with you, Angela.
I would love that, Tony.
Great. But it's my understanding that the author is a lawyer. And so when you're talking, he navigated the judicial system. And so that this narrative, or the story rather, is about how he came to understand the judicial system and the impact, as you're saying, of this narrative on ways that people either have rights or lack of rights in the judicial system. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is, Tony. And not only the power of lawyers, the power that individual may have, in the field of law and being a lawyer, but giving us an understanding of the big part that the society and the community play in supporting the lawyer. Because even with having a lawyer, when the narrative of the community is the way that it was in this story, it really impacts the outcome.
Okay, good. Okay, don't say any more. I don't want you to spoil the plot.
Okay, thank
So
you.
for those of us who are gonna read this, so tell us a little bit more, Angela, about your role here at Country Day. You, as we said, you're our director of equity, diversity, and inclusion. This is your first year in that role, but you've done amazing things already. You've mentioned Courageous Conversations, which is one kind of way that you brought to our school, ways to engage in some of this inquiry. What are other things that you've been doing, and what have you, I suppose, learned in this position in this first year?
So in this position, here at Country Day, we already have an amazing group of faculty members that dive deep into the learning and the teaching and the learning of our students and help them, dive right into those academics. My role is partnering with those teachers to identify ways that we can further develop their social and emotional intelligence, helping children have conversations around the learning and understanding, making a connection and developing empathy within the literature, understanding how that literature or that curriculum that they are engaging in can impact them in the real world, and how they can be an advocate and make a difference in our world today for the rights of others, and making sure that, and also looking at curriculum to make sure it's equitable and inclusive of everyone in our community.
Fantastic. And we're very lucky to have you in that role, in addition to the Montessori work that you do as well. So, wishing we had three of you to put you in, be able to serve the school in different ways. But so grateful for the work that you are doing, Angela. You mentioned that you like to read books. What is it about books that you enjoy, and what is it about this book club that you're looking forward to?
Well, I like how, we all see different things and have different perceptions when we read books and when we look at the themes that are in books. And that's what I often look at in books. What are the themes? What are the themes that keep arising in the book? But my perception of a book is what I get out of a book. I perceive those themes to be a certain way, and that's what I get. But when we have book discussions, we get a wealth of perceptions, a wealth of knowledge from everyone. We get to hear different opinions and different views. We are the sum of our experiences. And so when we all gather and engage in a conversation, we not only bring our perceptions, but we bring our experiences. And then we learn further. So it furthers the learning when we have these group discussions on books. Um,
No, I'm sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead and finish
Oh,
your thought.
no, no. So the thing is, I only get one view, my view, when I read a book. But when we come together, we get multiple views.
What challenges do you think you're going to face doing this over Zoom, right? One of the great things is speaking to somebody about a book and learning about different views. It's always good to be able to read body language, to be there with them. Do you think it's going to be challenging in Zoom to reach that same type of understanding?
Yes, I do think we will have some challenges, but as we all know, over the past few weeks, we've been able to tackle challenges and build resiliency, right?
That's
So I
good.
think that we'll bring that. We've all had some level of adaptability, and understanding. So when we come to a virtual book discussion, I believe that we'll all bring with us an idea of it won't be like a face-to-face meeting,
Yeah.
but in turn, we will be able to still see each other. So that will be a plus.
Yeah.
The challenge will be the time. It's 1 hour. The book discussion is 1 hour, and there are many views and many voices that would like to be heard. So hopefully, we can absolutely further discussion later, and hope to get as many perceptions and views within the discussion as possible.
So it begins at 6:30, but you're suggesting it might go a little later than 7:30 if needed.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great. I also know that you're encouraging people to bring their own drinks and snacks. Is that something that is okay with you in your book club?
Yes, and they don't have to be limited to certain things. People can
Okay.
bring whatever they would like to the book discussion to drink or eat.
Very good. Very good. And probably should at least share it virtually, right? With
Yes,
everybody.
absolutely. That would be kind.
Well,
Mhm.
Angela, thank you so much for everything you're doing for Country Day and for leading us in our books and conversations. Again, on what was the date?
May 12th,
May the
Tuesday, May
12th,
12th.
from 6:30 to 7:30. And we'd like people to RSVP, right? So that we can make sure that they get the Zoom link and the password
Absolutely.
and everybody can join. Is that right?
Yes, and we want to make sure we have room enough for everyone.
Good point. Good point. Very good. Well,
Yes,
Angela, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
thank you.